Hello, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tech Exec podcast, where we triple your impact per engineer. As always, I'm your host, Aviv Ben-Yosef, and today our topic is curiosity. If you listened to the previous episode, I told you as an example how I got that Italian newspaper to practice my Italian for about $2. And I want to talk today about another aspect of what I got out of it, which is fueling my curiosity. If there's something that I realize is one of my greatest strengths, is the ability to keep being curious about what's happening around me and learning so much. And because of that, because I have this capability to dig deep into something if I need to solve a specific question, but in general, what I do is I tend to get a lot of information from a broad range of sources. I get this ability to make a bunch of connections, to have an intuition that's sharper because I know a bunch of things. I have better pattern matching. And this is not me bragging. This is about me telling you that you can have the same. The best leaders I work with have this insatiable curiosity to keep learning. They might be voracious readers. They might be talking to different people all the time. They might be on Twitter in discussions. Whatever mode of being curious works for you, I don't care, as long as you're that. And that means, for example, that you're not just reading the business book du jour. It's about getting your information from a bunch of different sources. I read newspapers from 3 or 4 different countries regularly just because that's how I consume information and because I feel like it really helps me. When I work with my global clients, I don't just know what's going on here in my country. I have a sense of what's going on politically globally. And I know when there are different events and I know what might be on their minds. And that helps us in our connection. This curiosity also helps me when it comes to realizing that there are bigger trends currently at play because you can see the same things happening in different areas and different industries. And this curiosity also brings me back to how I realized that you can weaponize curiosity. About 12 or 13 years ago, I was sitting with a friend who was a co-founder of a unicorn, and he just told me, if there's something that I realize about you is the fact that it's like you always absorb so much information what goes on around you. You're sitting in conversations and you seem to be constantly picking up on different things, and all of a sudden you just spit out something. And this sponginess is something that I think we all need as leaders, because first of all, it means that you tend to listen a lot. You don't just try and direct the conversation. You're taking in information. And it also means that when you do speak up, you usually have a lot of corroborating facts to help you make your point. And you can use that to convey your thinking and to convince people. Someone said of Churchill that he was a great negotiator because he could remember all of these different facts. And then when it came time to negotiate, he had all the different facts, information he needed to sway the other party. You can do the same if you're on top of things, if you know what's going on, if you remember why things were decided, if you're constantly curious and you know what happens in your company, in other companies, in other industries, you can be so much more valuable. And leaders nowadays have to be these well-rounded characters. And even if you've been in your role for the past 3 years, or you've only worked in 2 companies in the past decade, that doesn't mean you can't be well-rounded. It doesn't mean you only have to know what goes on in your company. When I talk to leaders who are in that position, who never talk to anyone outside, who rarely understand what others are doing, I understand that they are essentially breathing their own exhaust. And there's only so much one can get without some external stimuli. So I want you to get that. Okay? Be curious. One way of satisfying that curiosity is, for example, to join my newsletter, where you're going to get every week this podcast, an article, 3 exclusive insights, and a bunch of freebies. So what are you going to lose? That's it for this week. Thank you for joining me. Again, check out the show notes for links to good stuff, and I'll be here next week.